Our car was in an accident this morning. Passengers are stranded in Africa. And are my Phoenix Suns, our beloved Phoenix Suns, how far will they go in the playoffs? Let's talk about it. Hey, what's going on, Adventure fam? Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. Hope you had a great Easter Sunday, and it was great for us. Colored some Easter eggs, did some Easter baskets, went to church to celebrate Jesus, of course, and just had a good time this weekend. And we had a fantastic time, and I hope you did too. Hope you guys were able to relax and enjoy your time, and just no matter what you did, hope you were able to enjoy it. Now we're going to talk about Norwegian Cruise Line and some passengers that are currently stranded in Africa. But before we do, something happened this morning that I want to let you guys know about, and really unfortunate. Today is April Fool's, but we were not fooled this morning. We were dropping Adeline off at school like we normally do. I'm going to paint this picture for you. We're dropping her off. We live about, I don't know, a quarter of a mile up from the road from the school, and sometimes we walk, sometimes we drive down. It depends on if we got meetings in the morning, things like that. So we drove down this morning, parked our car on the road on Abraham Lane like we always do. And right in front of the school there, got out. And as soon as we got out, we got about 10 feet. And we hear this and loud crash, loud bang, loud boom, loud crunch. And turned around to find a preschool bus barreling through the street, going to the stop sign. But before they could get to the stop sign, I went to look because I was like, that didn't sound good. Went back to our vehicle, and nonetheless, the preschool bus hit our vehicle. Sideswiped us, hit our mirror, flew it off. I'll throw some pictures on so you can see kind of the damages to it. That's how we started our Monday morning. And went and took the daughter to school, took Adeline to school, dropped her off, and then had to file a police report, get all the information, exchange the insurance. Now, the good thing is nobody was injured, nobody was hurt. There were kids on that preschool bus, however, so hopefully everybody there is okay. But yeah, it was just not a good way to start the morning, the Monday morning. And it could have been a lot worse. We understand that, and could be in a much worse situation. So just glad nobody was hurt, except for the vehicle. We'll get it fixed. It is what it is. However, just not a good way to start the morning. And we're already dealing with a lot of stress here with the Phoenix Suns. You can see here I'm rocking the Suns here. We got about 6 or 7, 8 games left of the season, and they're not playing up to their potential. So we need them to play up to their potential to get into the playoffs and hopefully do well. But I gotta say, my hopes are not high for that. But the Diamondbacks started; they're starting well. So got the Yankees series starting today. So all kinds of different things here happening in Phoenix, and we love it. We love it, and we'll be going to the game on Wednesday, so that'll be amazing and exciting. Going with my pops. So that's kind of a life update rundown for you. Hope you enjoyed that. But let's jump into the story today, which is there are 8 passengers that have been stranded in Africa while on board a Norwegian cruise line, the Norwegian Dawn cruise. They got left. In Africa, and we're going to talk about that right now. All right, so there was 8 guests on board the Norwegian Dawn, and on March 27th, they were in Sao Tome and Principe in Africa, and they got off the ship and they got onto a private tour to go do their own thing while the ship was in port. Now, it's important to note that this is not a Norwegian Cruise Line tour. It was a private tour booked, but there was about 8 guests on this tour for the Norwegian Dawn when they took off and disembarked the ship to go out into the country and to explore and to do what they were going to do for their private tour. Now, the Norwegian Dawn, which is on the 21-night sailing from Cape Town, South Africa to Barcelona, Spain, these 8 guests did go on a private tour, and subsequently what ended up happening is they ended up missing the 3 p.m. all aboard time back on board the Norwegian Dawn, and subsequently the boat left them there in Africa in those ports, leaving them there stranded with their passports and really not much else to really try to figure out what they were going to do because they did miss that all aboard time. So let's kind of get into the meat and potatoes of this, the nut and bolts, and kind of see kind of what happened and kind of get your thoughts on kind of if you agree kind of with the cruise line or if you think they should have waited for them. So let's jump into the details. Now, the incident happened on March 27th, as I stated before, and what ended up happening is I stated they were on a private tour, not affiliated with Norwegian Cruise Line, and it became evident that they weren't going to make it back to the ship on time. And so according to Jay Campbell, who's from South Carolina, he and his wife, they were on this tour as well. They actually mentioned to the tour operator, hey, look, it looks like we're running short on time here. The tour operator, however, reassured them that they would actually make it back within the next hour, kind of trying to give them reassurance that they would be back on time. Now, where they were located was a tender port, and if you don't know what that means, that just means that the ship is too big to come into an actual dock, so they stay out in the ocean and they tender down with the anchors. And what ends up happening is you got these little tender boats that come up and pick guests up to take them off of the boat and to bring them back to the boat, of course. So it's a tender port. The boat was not physically docked, so there's no pier runners, nothing like that. It was more of a tender boat. And so Campbell says when they returned, the boat was still actually tendered there, and it was still there, anchored down, hadn't moved. And so what ended up happening is when they got back, the harbor master tried to contact the vessel, and they say that the vessel denied the communication. So it sounds to me that they got back, harbor master reached out to the vessel denied the communication. Now, according to Campbell, he thinks that all he had to do was send a quick tender boat back out, bring them back to the ship, and could have easily loaded them. However, that was not done. The vessel refused communication. Therefore, none of the guests were able to actually reboard the Norwegian Dawn, and eventually the Dawn pulled up anchors and actually sailed away. Now, the Norwegian Dawn, for its part, has been very strict about this and said, hey, look, we let everybody know that the return time, the last tender, is 3 p.m. That's it. They broadly broadcasted it over every intercom. Everybody knew. And if you've ever been on a cruise, you know they make a very strict point about make sure you're following ship time, not your time. Make sure you're paying attention to the time. Make sure you're back in time. I know Sarah and I are always back on the boat an hour or two before the last call, so to speak, because we never want to run into a situation. And so Norwegian is sticking by their gun saying, hey, look, we let everybody know just like we do everybody. And they didn't make it back in time. They were on a private tour. Last call was 3 p.m. We have to abide by that. Everybody else did, and so therefore we didn't allow them back on the boat. Now, no matter which port of call or which cruise line or anything like this, if this ever happens, it's the passenger's responsibility to try to find arrangements to either meet that ship at the next port of call, or you fly home, essentially. And so it's up to each responsible party to decide what they want to do. If there's an opportunity for somebody to fly into the next port, you can pick up the ship there. That's always a possibility. Or you decide that if that's not possible, maybe you fly home. And this is no different in this case. These guests are now responsible. They've been stranded in the little tiny port, and now it's their responsibility to find out if they're going to go to the next port or if they're going to fly home or what they're going to do. But nonetheless, it's going to be the guest's responsibility. Now, Campbell and his wife have actually claimed to spend more than $5,000 thus far trying to rejoin this vessel. That's between hotels, flights, food, transportation, you name it. They've been trying to rejoin the vessel, try to rejoin the ship. They spent over $5,000 to do so. Now, it's reported that some of the guests are unable to do that. Maybe they don't have their international credit cards. They don't have their right information. They don't have currency. So, some of these other guests are, not able to be in that same situation. Now, for Norwegian Cruise Lines part, they did say that when the return guests do not, come back on time, they did drop their passports off at the port authority so that they at least have their documents to be able to travel. Now, in addition, Norwegian Cruise Line is saying that they are working with the guests. They're working with the local authorities to find out kind of what the rules and regulations are going to the next ports of call, how they can best communicate that out to the guests that are trying to rejoin, and what documents they might need in order to meet them up at the next ports of call. So where are they now? Where are these guests? What are they doing? What's happening, right? Let's talk about that. Now, after 15 hours of travel through 6 different countries, they were unable to join the ship in Gambia. And so low tides kept the ship out to sea. They were not able to dock, which means the passengers were not able to rejoin the ship, which means they now have to move over to Dakar, Senegal, to try to catch the ship at the next port of call, which is supposed to be tomorrow, April 2nd. So that is their next hope, is to try to join the ship tomorrow in Senegal, in hopes that the ship can dock and they can reboard at that time. Now, if they're unable to join the Norwegian Dawn tomorrow in Senegal, they're going to have to try to find a way to make it 3,200 miles over to the Canary Islands for an April 5th port day, in which they can try to make it back onto the Norwegian Dawn there. So it's a ton of travel. It's a ton of arrangements. Now, that's not going to be easy. Now, of course, some of these guests are impacted not only financially, but health-wise as well. There's some elderly people on this tour group that is stranded. Some are dealing with cardiac issues. lose paralysis. There's one individual that's actually pregnant. So there is a lot of different health issues and things that they are combating as well as maybe not having the currency or the funds to maybe travel to the next destination. So it's not as easy as it seems. They are trying their best, it sounds like, and it sounds like they might be staying together as a group to try to do it. But certainly it's not been easy, and so let's hope and pray that they can make it to Senegal tomorrow, to get on tomorrow and end this entire ordeal. But it sounds like they're dealing with more than just not having money. There's some health issues and stuff at play here. And so let's hope everybody's okay. Let's hope that they're able to get back on the Norwegian Dawn and figure it out. Now, again, all cruise lines pretty much have similar policies to this. I will tell you exactly where I stand on this. And I think we've said it before, but I'll tell you where I stand on this. As unfortunate as it is, I don't feel bad, right? And maybe that's the wrong terminology, but everybody's given the same opportunity, the same information, and the same, the times to come back and things of that nature. It's up to each individual guest and their responsibility to be able to make it back on time. Now, this is why we always say when you book a tour off-site, a private tour that's not related to the cruise line, this is a major risk you run. A major risk is if you don't get back in time, you are now stuck there. And so this is why we tend to just book through the cruise line if we're going to do a tour, because we never want to be in a situation like this. And again, we always make sure, even if we were going to look at tours off-site that were third party, we would make sure that it returns well before the last call. We are always back on the boat an hour, 2, 3 hours before. We never push it. We never try to push it. We never try to shop longer than we should. We never try to do anything that's going to put us at risk of missing the ship. It's just not something we want to do, but it happens. And so you just got to be mindful of the time and make sure you're on ship time. And if the tour's remotely going to cut close to the time you need to be back, we would advise that you don't book it and you book something else. Best case scenario is you go on a tour you really, really wanted and you get back in time. Worst case scenario is you go on a tour you really wanted and you didn't. Now you're spending extras of thousands of dollars when you could have just done a different tour that maybe you didn't really necessarily want to do as much, but at least you're saving yourself some headache and some time and some money and things of that nature. So we always advise go with the tour groups that the ship's offering. I know it's a little bit more expensive, but there's guaranteed benefits with that. They will wait for you if something happens, right? It's unfortunate, it really is. I hope these individuals are able to regain entry onto the Norwegian Dawn at some point, hopefully tomorrow, because that's the next date. Let's just hope that happens. But let me know your thoughts below. What do you think about this? If you've cruised before, do you think obviously it's their responsibility, but do you agree with cruise lines leaving people like this? Or do you think, especially in this case, if the boat was still there, they could have sent a tender boat back? Do you think they should have given the opportunity to send a tender boat and to retrieve them? I don't know what the answer is to that, but let me know down below what your thoughts are. Yeah, I just don't... I've never understood people that are late back to the boat. I just don't get it, but it happens all the time, and we just don't. I mean, it's fun to watch, right? When they're running down the piers, it's fun to watch, the pier runners, but when they actually miss a ship, to me, it's just not worth it. So let me know down below what your thoughts are. Thanks for tuning in on this April 1st, happy April Fool's Day to everybody. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing fantastic. Thanks for the support. Love you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. We would love your support. We'd love for you to be a part of the adventure fam. So drop a like on the video if you loved it and turn on those notification bells. But we will see you guys tomorrow in the next video. And without further ado, have a good day. Peace.